One of the questions we're always asked is, what does expert models do? And the reason that's not a straightforward answer is because we really have to know what you're trying to analyze or predict before we can start talking about what benefits expert models would have for you. We've noticed a lot of people do analysis and prediction in Excel sheets, and they're great for very simple things. You can see I've got a very simple model here that estimates the cost of a project in Excel, and it takes in some variables like the min and max potential person months, the cost, and the cost of materials, and it uses a formula with some randomness in it to generate a cost for that project. And if anyone's done stuff like this before, they know that it can get very complex, and these formulae can get very complex very quickly. So you start using things like macros or add-ons for Excel, but you're fundamentally trying to use a tool for something that it's not really designed for, and it just doesn't really work. You end up emailing around these documents to different people to show them. You've got no sense of versioning, you've got no sense of reproducibility, and very quickly you end up with a mess. IBM did a report on this recently, and their estimation is that 90% of spreadsheets that are used for analysis contain mistakes. So the operational risk there is obviously absolutely huge if the overwhelming majority of these sheets contain mistakes and people are making decisions based on the data that these formulae are generating. And that's really where expert models comes in. Expert Models is a cloud-based platform that I'm going to log into here, and we take the calculations, the analysis, the predictions that people are doing, and we build them as a model on our platform, and then we give access to those people in a cloud platform that they can access through a browser, where they can collaborate, they can look at data, they can look at the answers. And so if I run a new model here, one of mine is my project cost calculator, which is a pretty simple model that I can give a name to, and it allows me to choose inputs. So the inputs are specific to each model, and I can choose some fairly sensible values here, and then I can run this as a model, and that starts to go. And we can see I've got a notification here. So this is a pretty quick calculation, and it runs pretty quickly. So it's telling me that it's completed in a few seconds. I can see for reproducibility my input. So here's the number I put in, and this model, different models output different things. This model outputs a report, and if I click on that and save it on my desktop, we can see reports are also custom to the models. This one outputs some fairly sensible things. So it's your 5th percentile, your 95th percentile, the estimated project cost, plus or minus, and the minimum and maximum cost. And there's histograms in loads of different outputs as well, and fairly interesting things that people want to see. The reason that this is fundamentally better than Excel is not only because it's running in the cloud and it's easily accessed, but when people give us their model and their calculation and we create it in this platform, we create model validation tests that are run constantly to ensure that for a given input, a given output is reached, and therefore throughout releases or advances in the software, we can ensure that fundamentally nothing has changed in the calculations and that they're going right. What I can then do is, so after I've run a few estimations of this and I've become happy with it, I'm in a folder called My Data. I can then I'm going to move it into a shared data folder, which is something anyone in my company can see when they log in. So I'm just going to move it straight there. I can go to my shared data folder, and we can see that not only is the one I've just run here, but some other ones that I've done for previous projects are here. And if I click on any one of them, I can see the values I input for that project, and I can see the reports for those projects. So we can see historical runs. These don't change. We can see the inputs that were used, and we can see the outputs that were generated, and it gives a great reproducibility in that sense. That's much easier to trust than something that was done in a spreadsheet, which might have been edited by some of the people it was emailed around to. A lot of models are more complex than this, and so we've built a lot of technology to deal with that. If I look at some data I have here, so I can create data tables in this software. There's one model I use that's more complex. It takes in a diary, which is a diary of food consumption events, And so we've built this editor in the cloud, where you've got full editing capability. You've got everything you'd expect, like undo, redo. You can copy, move, all these standard things. We've also got some filters, so I can filter my data where something fairly simple, amount is greater than 1000. So I can filter that now. If I filter down to amount that's greater than 1000, we're showing 4300 rows of about 250,000. I can do file, I can do copy filtered to just copy off that filtered data, and I can do a whole lot more. I can insert extra fields if I want to have extra data there that I can do some filtering on. And the platform is very rich in its features that allow me to use data. On top of all this, I've got this file system, which allows me to create tables, folders to manage my data. I can upload data, I can download data. I've got a recents, a trash section, all the things you'd expect from a good file system. It's also responsive, so you'll see as I shrink down in size, if I was using an iPad or something, you can see that it reacts and hides things appropriately and creates new ways of accessing the menus that are much more intuitive on small screens.